How to create a grand total worksheet in Microsoft Excel 2003. Let's use an example company that has two sales divisions, the East Coast sales and the West Coast sales. Looking at the East Coast sales division, we have 4 salespeople. We have Sue, Alice, Steve, and Linda, and here are their total sales. And then we have, in the West Coast sales division, Jim, Jane, Bob, and Mary, and these are their sales. Now, in both cases, we have not totaled the sales for each division. So let's do that real quick, and we'll use the auto sum feature to do that. So select the destination cell we'd like the total of these values to be. In this case, it's cell B7. So here we go, and I'll click the auto sum button, and it guesses the series of values I'd like to add correctly. So I'll just go ahead and hit the enter key, and I've got my total sales for my East Coast division. I'll do the same thing for the West Coast sales. Put the cursor in the cell where you'd like the total to be, click the auto sum button, and auto sum correctly guessed that these are the values I'd like to add. Since it's correct, I'll just hit the enter key, and then I've got the total for my West Coast sales division. Now we want to have a third worksheet that provides a grand total of the sales for both divisions. So let's click on the bottom with your right mouse button and choose Insert, and we will choose Worksheet. Click OK. We'll rename this worksheet and call it Grand Total. Great. Here we're going to create our rows where we'll put our values. So let's put division, and that'll be our total. We'll just format these a little bit so they look kind of nice. Great. And then we'll have our grand total here. It helps to set things up ahead of time so that when you make your final moves, everything's kind of in place. So we're just going to right align this total, and then we'll make this text red, put a little line above it. Great, and we're all set. So here we'll have East Coast sales, and here we'll have West Coast sales. Terrific. Now we're ready to add the totals from each worksheet. So in this cell B3, we'd like to have the total from the East Coast sales. What we'll do is simply hit the equals key, and Microsoft Excel knows that you're ready to set up some kind of automated value there. So after I've hit the equals key, I'm going to actually go to the worksheet that contains the total I'd like to put there. So I'm going to click East Coast sales. I'm going to select this cell that has the total, that's B7, and then I'm going to hit the enter key. And Excel returns you to the worksheet that you were just working at. So here we have the value of the total from East Coast sales. And just to confirm that, you'll notice up here in the formula bar it actually says East Coast sales B7. Terrific. So we'll do the same thing for West Coast sales. I'll put the cursor in the cell that I'd like to have that total value in. Then I will hit the equals key. Microsoft Excel now knows that you're ready to create some kind of formula. I'll go to the West Coast sales worksheet. I'll select that cell that has the total we want. I'll hit the enter key. Excel returns to the worksheet you were working on, and great, I've got the totals from both those divisions. Now I just want to quickly format these cells so they look like numbers, so I'll choose Format Cells, and I'll choose Currency. Great. And here's where I want my grand total. So I'm going to simply use AutoSum, which is very, very easy. So I've got the cursor in the cell I'd like the sum to be in which case is B6. I'll click the AutoSum button. AutoSum correctly guessed that I would like to add up these two values. I'll hit enter, and there is our grand total for the East Coast and West Coast sales divisions. It's our total sales for the whole company. Let's just review very quickly. We have East Coast sales and West Coast sales. In the East Coast sales, we've used AutoSum to total cells B2 through B6. And then in the West Coast sales, we've used AutoSum to total cells B2 through B6. And then we created a third worksheet called Grand Total. We set everything up with our headers and our row labels, and then in this case it equals the worksheet East Coast sales and the cell B7. And in this case we have the total here is the worksheet West Coast sales and the cell B7. And then here we used AutoSum to add those two values. So $3,650 is the grand total of both sales divisions from our company. And that is how you create a grand total worksheet in Microsoft Excel 2003.